Let's talk about that aspirational role, that next job that you want to get to, that director position, that VP position, or that position at the company that has an amazing culture that everybody wants to work for. Or that role that you have been told, just be patient, you're up next for promotion. That role, yes, that one. You can do that job. You know why? Because you belong in that space. Welcome to You Belong in the C-Suite podcast. You are ambitious in life and in your career, but something is missing. You want to bring more of your passion to what you do. Because let's be honest, you pour a ton into your work, and it needs to mean more. I'm your host, Laura Eigel. I'm a mom, wife, PhD, coach, advocate, introvert, and indoor rowing fanatic. I'm passionate about living a life that's in line with my values. We'll give you the actionable tips and tools you need to lead with your values, make a difference, and have career success. The world needs more diversity and authenticity in the top jobs at organizations. Your leadership belongs there. You belong in the C-Suite. Hi there, friends. My first book, Values First: How Knowing Your Core Beliefs Can Get You the Life and Career You Want, is now out in the world. Thank you so much for your support of the book. With your help, we are a #1 Amazon bestseller in the business ethics category and a #1 new release for time management in business and business etiquette. I have poured my heart into this book with personal stories and stories from my coaching clients using the Values First framework. Between the constant pressure of job performance and demands on your time, it's easy to lose sight of your values, letting them shift out of alignment. Those simple misalignments are keeping you from feeling joyful and fulfilled. Learn how to recenter your life and career around what truly matters to you. Order Values First now at your favorite independent bookstore or at Barnes & Noble or Amazon. I want to make sure that you are the first to know about every book activity that we have in store, including virtual and in-person events. Stay up to date by joining our list at thecatchgroup.com/valuesfirst. That's thecatchgroup.com/valuesfirst. Welcome to this week's episode of the You Belong in the C-Suite podcast. This week, we have a listener's favorite episode that we're highlighting. Why? Well, because I think that this is the week that we need to hear this message. We are still in the endless new normal of the pandemic and the complexities that it brings, and now also with the latest news for Americans from the Supreme Court's ruling overturning Roe. This world is hard, especially right now. And I'm telling you now, more than ever, you belong. You belong in that job that you want, that really big one. You belong in all of the spaces that you're in, and you belong in all the spaces that you want to be in. So go to a quiet space and listen to this episode, this pep talk for you. I also need you to take some time for yourself, because if you aren't taking care of you, you won't be able to make the impact that you want. If you haven't listened to episode 64 yet, listen to that one next. I had Dr. Rebecca Eldridge on to talk about how to support the change makers at work. You are a change maker. Thank you for being here. Let's dig into this episode, and remember, your leadership belongs here. You belong in the C-Suite. Welcome to the You Belong in the C-Suite podcast. As I tried to title this episode, I kept changing it, but the take-home message is actually quite clear. You belong. You belong in the job that you're in. You belong in that aspirational job you want to be in. So this episode will hopefully feel like the pep talk you need, but will give you the motivation to take action for what you want. Today, I'm going to be talking about a recurring topic for the high-achieving leaders that I coach. Here's the gist. I have coaching conversations with these rock star leaders. They are killing it at work. When we talk about their career aspirations, they say that they need to accomplish this next thing, this next big experience in their current job before they can go to do what they really have their eye on at that really cool company.
Sometimes it's finishing a long-term project. Sometimes it's a title thing. They feel like they need to get the title at their current company before they can do that job at a similar company. I've heard this from so many leaders lately. It goes back to this idea that I'm not ready or good enough yet. All of these women, guess what? Individually, they are already ready for these aspirational roles. This am I good enough feeling or imposter syndrome. It starts early and it repeats over time. As one person said it recently, they don't know how to own the space they've conquered. They find that even in the jobs that they're currently in, that they aren't 100% occupying it fully. They speak their mind, but sometimes they still don't feel worthy of the space that they have literally been in and achieved. Others don't feel good enough to go after the thing that they want because they feel like they aren't ready or still need another experience. Or they see what's out there and they don't meet the requirements for the job description. For all of you, you belong here. You belong in the spaces that you're in. You've gotten yourself to where you are. And you know what? You belong in all of the spaces that you want to be in too. You belong in those aspirational spaces. You're probably already qualified. I talked about this in the episode number 6 of this podcast, The Lies of Imposter Syndrome. Check it out if you haven't already. In that episode, I gave a detailed firsthand experience of when I didn't think I was qualified for jobs that I eventually got and excelled in, both early in my career and much later in my career. There's a common theme. Am I ready to be in this place? I say yes, you are ready. So next I'm going to bring you through a few actionable self-reflection questions. If you're in your current role and you have limiting beliefs about it, think about that role. You're in that for a reason. I bet you are showing up, but you still have imposter syndrome. You question yourself, who am I to be here? But here's the thing, you belong in that place. You might be a leader of a small team or a big team, or even in the C-suite. You got there yourself. I am going to ask you to do some self-reflection. Here's a few things that you can think about. First, what are your core values? If you don't know, then use our free values worksheet on thecatchgroup.com to download it and find out what your core values are. Then answer these questions. What would it mean to fully lead with your values in the space that you're in? How would that feel? What would it look like? It might look like giving your opinions in meetings or talking directly more to the senior leadership about your team's strategies. Are you doing that now? What limiting belief or story in your head is holding you back? Could it be something like, I'm only here because I'm lucky. I'm here because one leader helped me out. I'm here because the timing was right. Or a limiting belief might be something like, oh, well, the CEO would never want to hear from me. My ideas aren't that great. Ask yourself this, is that story true? In her Netflix talk, Brené Brown talks about the stories we tell ourselves, and rarely they are true. We replay these things in our head, giving ourselves reasons for things. But is it true? Most likely not. Root yourself back to what matters to you, your core values. Go back to that truth. You belong there. You should be able to live your values there. What next action can you take to live your values? Next, let's talk about that aspirational role, that next job that you want to get to, that director position, that VP position, or that position at the company that has an amazing culture that everybody wants to work for. Or that role that you have been told, just be patient, you're up next for promotion. That role, yes, that one. You can do that job. You know why? Because you belong in that space. You are most likely ready for that role. Heck, you might already be doing it already. A long time ago, I heard the saying, sometimes you have to step out to step up, meaning that sometimes you need to leave the company that you are currently working for to get promoted to the job that you deserve to be in. Companies are tricky like that. Sometimes people stay in their jobs for a while, or there aren't that many roles, or it isn't the right timing. But you may be comfortable right now in your company or your role, and that's fine. That's great. But are your needs getting met? You're giving a lot. You're a high achiever. If you have had an urge or an inkling for a while that you think this isn't your forever job, or you've been waiting too long for your forever job at that company, then take inventory. First, check in with your values. What would living your values mean? For instance, one of my values is development. And if I'm really living it, I'm developing my team and women to advance their careers. At my previous job, my value of development was being met because I was developing my team, but I wasn't able to do the executive coaching as much as I wanted to because that wasn't part of my job. So I was only partially meeting my value of development. After I did that reflection, I realized where I truly wanted to spend more time coaching women to advance their careers, and I shifted my career and able to do that for myself full time. So what does living your values mean for you? For each of your values, write out what that looks like at work. Next, compare to what you're actually living now. If there's a gap to fill, then this is a great starting point to figure out how to get that need met. What's stopping you from getting that met, to living your values at work? Is it hesitancy to leave what you know, leaving your team, leaving the familiar or comfortable? What limiting beliefs or stories are you telling yourself about that? That you need another role at your current company before you can get that job at the aspirational company? That the company will eventually promote you, even though they've been saying that for months and months now? That your partner would never think that this is a good idea? Or maybe that you would be giving up too much? What is the truth? Do you really need to have another title to move to another company? Or will you get the title when you move to the other company? Grab a trusted peer and talk through your reflections. Take one small step to get closer to the thing that you want. Answer that recruiter's message from LinkedIn. Check in with someone from your network. Have a career conversation with your manager. The biggest thing that I want you to remember is this: you belong there, wherever it is that you want to be. I'm challenging you to do this reflection and then take a small step to living your values at work. I hope this episode encourages you to occupy the spaces that you're in and gives you the motivation to take action for what you want. Remember, your leadership belongs here. You belong in the C-suite. That wraps up today's episode. I want to thank you so much for listening to the You Belong in the C-Suite podcast. If you are enjoying this content, please remember to rate and review on Apple Podcasts. By leaving a review, you are helping others find this content. We will be featuring 5-star reviews on air in upcoming episodes. Editing and support for the podcast is done by S&E Podcast Management. To get more tips and tools to help you live a life guided by your values, go to thecatchgroup.com. Keep your boundaries and take care.